industrial production shutdowns. That's already happened with plastics all across Asia. It's happening now to a lesser extent, but increasingly with microcircuitry. In other words, we're not just talking about driving Iran into the sea or destroying Iran. You're talking about a global energy system that is being brought to a standstill, not by something Iran has done, but by what we have done. How many times do we have to remind everyone that we are the ones, along with the Israelis, that attacked Iran? We were not attacked. When we attacked Iran, we caused Lloyd of London's to immediately cease underwriting the movement of any ships with insurance. So Lloyd's of London, they stepped in, they shut down the strait. After that, it was a foregone conclusion that as long as there was fighting, the strait would not open. So now we have a ceasefire, supposedly. The ceasefire is supposed to be the prelude, we all hope, for some sort of reasonable negotiated settlement. That seems unlikely because we continue to put forth Israeli demands to the Iranians. And the Iranians have no intention ever of submitting to those demands from Israel. They know what this war is all about. People will talk about China and other things. That's nonsense. This war is about the Israeli state and the supremacy of the Jewish state throughout the entire region. And their agents inside the United States are holding us hostage to that outcome. We can't produce that outcome right now. And the longer it takes, the weaker we look. The longer it takes, the more likely others are to enter the conflict. And thus far, we have always waved them off and said, oh, no one will ever do that. Oh, they'll never do that. What? The Turks? They'll never do anything. The Egyptians? They'll never do anything. The Chinese? They'll never do anything. How many times do you have to do this? I remember sitting around in January of 2022 with a round table of people in Washington, D.C. and said, oh, the Russians would never intervene in Ukraine. Why? That would be catastrophic for their economy. They could not sustain it. They couldn't withstand the pressure. We are stupid. We have to understand that when you give people no alternative, no other way to extricate themselves from the crisis, they will fight. And so now we've learned that the Iranians are not going to submit. They also know that if we continue down this road and we renew the attacks on Iran, that the world is going to be deeply alienated and turn violently against us. We could actually see a coalition of nations that come together, and I don't want to speculate on who could be in the coalition, but I think some people in America would be surprised, who simply come together and say, enough. And if you don't stop, we will treat you and your forces anywhere we find them as the enemy. That's how serious the crisis is around the world. Now, we haven't talked a lot about what's happening in Japan or the problems in Korea, and I hope we'll talk a little bit about what's going on in Europe, because what the European heads of state are saying, look, we can't do this. They don't say publicly, stop attacking Iran, but privately say it's got to stop. It can't go on. Pretty soon they'll say it publicly because we can't live with this outcome. So Iran's in the driver's seat. What we expect to get from another round of talks is beyond me, other than window dressing, the image or illusion of some sort of legitimate approach to peace. There is none, right?
Oh, hello, Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Rakakwadash, double honors to the apostles of GMS who teach and rule well. Salutations to you brothers in the highways and byways. Salutations also goes out to you brothers and few sisters that tune in to listen and learn of the brother Malak. From the Diligent Soldier Camp here in Boston, Mass. And as always, I pray this lesson be edifying to the elect. All right, the name of this one is going to be Perpetual Desolation for Evil E. Perpetual Desolation for Evil E. All right, and because of this Israel and U.S. military operations on Iran, the entire world is experiencing, as he said, industrial production shutdown. And by the way, that is retired Colonel Douglas McGregor. All right. And basically things like plastic, as he was saying, microcircuitry, and other raw materials, man. Such as like silicone. UK and the EU countries highly depend on that. The transport and prices of these minerals like copper, gold, and other precious materials, they're also being affected. Mind you, these things are in high demand around the world. The disruption of that global energy system he mentioned, man, is causing a problem and tension to grow between these nations and that depend on those materials and the U.S. and Israel. So war is brewing, and because the world is being affected by these confrontation, um, the draft is being brought back. I think as early as December here in the United States, man. You know, and and that's all due to because there is gonna be war, all right. But this time around, the if you think about it, if you're seeing how everything is going on, the morale, as they call it, within the U.S. and even the IDF is very low. There's countless videos of U.S. military men and women, expressing themselves on how they feel about this war, including vets. And there's videos that we all seen of IDF soldiers, running and crying at the same time. You know what I mean? And like I said, the morale is severely low, man. But the Lord is going to put the spirit on them to do what they got to do, man. The water Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai, man. This was all prophesied, man. Yahweh describes Babylon as his hammer, and weapon of war. These Edomites are the Lord's tool, man. You know what I mean? They're a tool. You know how there's an insult, or people use that as an insult when they call people tools or whatever, man, because they're being used and whatnot, man. And these Edomites are the Lord's tool, man. And that's pursuant to Jeremiah 51. All right, let's get a few scriptures. And I pray that this lesson be edifying, man. This is the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 12. Let's start at 3. It says, "In the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble," right? The keepers of the house are these government officials, you know what I'm saying, politicians and whatnot. "And the strong men shall bow themselves," going into like basically soldiers, man, right? The modern day warriors. "And the grinders cease because there are few." It's lucky. "And the grinders cease because there are few, and those that look out the windows be darkened," right? "And the doors shall be shut in the streets when the sound of the grinding is low." And grinding going into basically work, man, employment, all right? "And he shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and all the daughters of music shall be brought low." And as far as the music goes, man, it's complete trash. One of like the biggest trending genres right now here with Jake is this drill shit, man. And it's so crazy because it's like a young people mentality type of genre of music, right? Because young people don't really think about consequences and whatnot, man. And it's something that I see even older people, man, older cats my age. So like I'm 43. Dudes my age, man, real close friends of mine, as far as not in the world, they like that shit, man. They really like what is it called? Resonate with it. You know what I'm saying? I guess it's because Jake is just wicked. Jake likes that type of environment where everything is just negative and violence. You know what I mean? There's no room for the Lord to work with you, man. The Spirit of the Lord to work with you, because you basically saturated in just demonic vibrations, man. This is the book of Jeremiah. Let's start at 50. Actually, Jeremiah 50 and start at 45. It says, "Therefore hear ye the counsel of Yahweh that he has taken against Babylon," all right, "and his purpose," right? Like I said earlier, man, this is Esau is the Lord's tool, man. And over here is saying that basically the Lord has a purpose. All right, let's start it over again. "Therefore hear ye," Jeremiah 50 and 45. "Therefore hear ye the counsel of the Lord Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai, that he taketh against Babylon and his purposes, that he has proposed against the land of the Chaldeans. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. The least of the flock being these Amalekites, man. You know, and they definitely did draw them out. I mean, we all know that a lot of these politicians are not only bought out, but are being blackmailed, man. All right, which is wicked as fuck, but they're being blackmailed and they're doing what. Hey, but it's also reaping what they sow, because these American politicians have been doing that for the longest around the world, and it's beautiful that their top tribe, all right, is doing the same to them, which is crazy because that's Esau being divided, man. Basically. It says, surely the least of the flock shall draw them out, which is why you see Babylon, the military of Babylon supporting in whatever ways that they have to Israel, even if sometimes they don't seem to be on one accord. They do something and that doesn't please Amalek and them, man, and Amalek goes and does something to further them more into this conflict, man. All right, so there's no escaping them, man. All right, because the Lord is behind all of this, man. It says, surely shall they, surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitations desolate with them, right? Because both Babylon and Israel are gonna get hit, man, with those arrows, man. ICBM ballistic, intercontinental ballistic missiles, man, that are gonna be flying off from the enemies of Babylon and Israel, man. All right. What was I gonna say? These tiny hats have done just that, man. And as the serpent, as the scripture says, as the serpent, they are very subtle, subtle, and the scriptures say that. Another thing, this man Douglas McGregor, Colonel Douglas McGregor said was what he was going into. I was hearing it and I'm like, this is spiritual, man. And that was Iran, as he said, has no intentions to back down, man. Okay, and at one point, Iran in some regards was physically, not both physically and kind of mentally, I would say, right, for lack of another term, man, weak, but that's just not the case, man. And because they have no intentions of backing down, you shouldn't have any doubt that we're most definitely living in Joel 3:10, man. As a matter of fact, let me see something. Yeah, well, let's get Joel 3:10. It says, Joel 3:10, beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. Okay, this is one of the reasons that they were so pissed off that these people even had anything to do with nuclear, power. You know what I'm saying? And Iran being a large country, I forget how many millions of people, but they're a very large country, and growing. They have to, and they have their own plans to grow economically. They came to the conclusion that they were gonna need nuclear resources, man. For the demand of energy that the country is going to be needing. Whether it be, we know this is not too long from when the Lord is coming back. We know he's at the door, man. But if these people are looking at the growth of their country 5, 10, 15, 30 years from now, man, they have to make sure that the infrastructure is there. Okay, and as I said earlier, man, we're definitely in that Joel 3:10 scenario, man, because basically you had the Pentagon using the DPA, which is the Defense Production Act, to invest in industrial productions, man. Specifically to accelerate the production of munitions. They done gave so much to Ukraine that the military is depleted. Here in Babylon, man. And the so-called Israeli supremacy that this man was mentioning, man, is just for the ushering of their NW to the Oski. You know what I'm saying? In that side of the world, man, back in the East. It's why they aren't going to let this crisis go, man. As the saying goes, never let a good crisis go by. I forget exactly who was quoted in saying that, but it's an Edomite way of thinking, man. You know what I'm saying? Where was I? Give me 1 second. This thing locked up on me. Yeah, so McGregor, I know, had mentioned how that the U.S. in this process that the U.S. looks weak, man. And they do, and they're making hasty. Oh man, what is the word? Taking hasty actions, man, that are not basically in their favor. So you have even their allies, abandoning them and not helping them, even if they have like these treaties between themselves, man, these covenants between themselves, man. And ultimately, man, that all that's gonna do is have these nations turn on Babylon completely, man. As he was saying that, he was speaking about coalition, and scriptures speak about that too, but they're already being side-eyed, man. Babylon, especially, for a long time, but in particular these Amalekites, man. There's not one single country or it's not a video that I see that these people are in all these different countries and they're being despised, man. Everywhere they are, man, in questions, man. As a matter of fact, scriptures speak on an inquisition, man, investigation that's being brought up against them, man. Esau's on trial, man, and the world is noticing, is starting to wake up, I would say, to their bullshit, to the veil that they had over these different nations, man, which is basically their wine, man. One example of that is the World Court, I think it's called, or World International Courts, wanting Bibi not a you. You know what I'm saying? The dude is wanted in a few countries, man, that he can't even step on because they'll lock his ass up. And in the process, Babylon is losing all its points with these nations, man. Which is beautiful. It's all spiritual, man. Let's get Jeremiah 51:7. It says, Babylon has been a golden cup in Yahweh's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad, man. There was a point where Babylon could do no bad, no evil. You know what I mean? They knew that Babylon wasn't shit, but they had to be down with them, and they was, they had they were reaping their benefits, in this, with this like allied contracts, that they've made with each other, But that's just not it no more, man. I forget the pipeline, what was it called, that these people, the U.S. had destroyed, took credit for it, and UK was basically affected by that, highly, and now you have them, with all these problems in the because of their confrontation with Iran, the U.S. and Israel, the Straits of Hormuz have been, stalled. Man. There are reports of ships going through, but not as much as they used to, man. And it even paused for a while. So that pause, even though here in the United States, People haven't felt it except for the gas pumps, but they'll soon see it when their food skyrockets. You know what I'm saying? And regular things that they'll go out and buy, household materials or whatever, skyrockets, and it's gonna be really expensive, man, out here for these people, man. And everything that's going on, man, it's just beautiful. Let's get some more scriptures. It says Isaiah 13. I'll start at 17. It says, "Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it." These Persians, man, when attacking Israel, they hit certain targets. You know what I'm saying? Whether it be military or something important. Slovakia, something important to Israel, man. But soon it's gonna get to where they don't care where they shoot these things at. Highly populated areas, you know what I'm saying? Countrysides, the city, you know what I'm saying? Hospitals, schools, you know? As a matter of fact, it goes into that too, man. It says 18. Their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces, right? Not only their military, but everywhere else too in Israel, man. It says their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces, and they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb, right? Women that are pregnant, right? Their eyes shall not spare children, man. Should not spare children, man. Hold on 1 second, because I also wanted to get Ezekiel 35. Now that I've read that, even though we could get back to that, I'll get back to that. Let's keep reading on. Verse 19. And Babylon, the glory of the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldees, excellency shall be as when God overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah, man. Okay, and what happened in Sodom and Gomorrah, man? Fire. All right, the melting of elements, man. Okay, and this is straight from the heavens, man, that the Lord shot that. This time he's gonna use all these asshole nations, man, these heathen nations to destroy this bitch. Mind you, it was the other way around where Babylon will be attacking these godless nations, man, as the scripture says, man. Okay, but the fact that the Medes and other nations that are not messing with these Amalekites and the rest of Edom, and not regarding children and women and places that you probably are so-called green zones, man. I think of this as the reason. Ezekiel 35:6, it says, "Therefore, as I live, saith the Lord Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. Since thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee." I mean, these people, these Amalekites, man, they have a protocol. I forget the name of it, but they'll have a protocol, man, where even if their own are being used as whether it be a shield or just kidnapped or whatever, I forget the terminology. They have a protocol where they'll blow everything up, man. They'll wipe anything out of the way, even if those said people from their side have been taken. They have a protocol where they kill the enemies and those of our people, basically, that are in there, man. Verse 7 says, "Thus will I make Mount Seir most desolate." So the Lord is planning to do the same here in Babylon, man. Okay, because Mount Seir, Esau is the Edomites and wherever they are, you know what I'm saying, is basically Mount Seir or Edom. Okay, wherever these people are, and they're here in North in Babylon. They're up in Canada, Europe, France, and all these other places, right? It says, "Thus will I make Mount Seir most desolate, and cut off from it him that passeth passeth out, and him that returneth. And I will fill the mountains with his slain men. Check this out. In thy hills and in thy valleys and in all thy rivers shall they fall that are slain with the sword, man. So the Lord is, planning to kill anything and everything that's anywhere, basically, man. You out in the woods hiking, the Lord's getting you, man. You're in the roof, or in some building, some house, whatever, but doing something that you shouldn't, whatever, the Lord is gonna destroy you, man. It's like a blanket, man. When the Lord starts dropping all these ICBMs over, it's gonna completely cover all of Babylon, man. All right. It says, and I will fill his mountains with his slain men, in thy hills and in thy valleys and in all thy rivers shall they fall that are slain with the sword. I will make thee perpetual desolations. This is what, inspired the title, man. Because it's we should be rejoicing, man, because this is exactly what's going to happen. Not only because this is exactly what's going to happen, but everything's leading to that. Prophecies are hitting, man. We in that Joel 3 and 10, as I said earlier, man. And well, as the Spirit actually, mentioned, man. Where am I? Hold on, Salakia. I almost lost myself. I will make thee a perpetual desolation, and thy cities shall not return, right? No more building back better, man. All right? And ye shall know that I am Yahweh, man. This is how the Lord is going to show these motherfuckers, man, what time it is, man. All right? Because, hey, as this dude has said himself, man, what was he? Window dressing, I think he was calling it or something. And mentioning peace in Isaiah 48 and 22, which is beautiful because he said that too, but we know it through the Spirit of, we know the reason why, man. It's Isaiah 48 and 22 says, there is no peace, saith Yahweh, unto the wicked, man. All right, there's no peace for these people, man. But those getting ready to judge these people by larger numbers, man, and they're gonna know that he is Yahweh, man, basically. All right, verse 10 says, because thou, and I'm back in Ezekiel 35 and Salakia 10. It says, because thou hast said, these two nations and these two countries shall be mine, and we will possess it, wherefore Yahweh was there, right? But whereas Yahweh was there. But it's so crazy because as you read this is what these people are trying to do. I seen the video with BB talking about, by the way, what are we doing with Greenland? Like what the fuck you mean? There's people over there, fam. What are you doing? What are you trying to say? And this scripture should basically, this scripture should leave you with no doubt, man, that who is talking about, man. Basically, that's probably how I want to put it, man. It says, because thou hast said, these two nations and these two countries shall be mine, and we will possess it, whereas Yahweh was there. Verse 11, therefore, as I liveth, saith Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai power, I will even do according to thine anger and according to thine envy, which thou hast used out of thy hatred against them, and I will make myself known among them when I have judged thee. All right, all these nations are gonna be, like this second Exodus, this second go around. The Lord is gonna be no shadow of a doubt, man, that Yahweh is, man. Okay, and that Yahweh Shai came to save his people, man. It says Salakia, where am I? Give me 1 second. This thing closed up on me, Akim. Verse 11. Let me start the 10. Yeah, verse 11. Therefore, as I live, saith Yahweh, I will even do according to thine anger and according to thine envy, which thou hast used out of the hatred against them, and I will make myself known among them when I have judged thee, man. Right, as the saying goes, right? What goes around comes around. As the scripture says, what you reap, what you sow. All right, this is the last verse. It says, and thou shalt know that I am Yahweh, and that I have heard all thy blasphemies, right? Which thou hast spoken against the mountains of Israel, all right? Against the government of Israel. And he's the top, the top leader of Israel, man. Yahweh, while Yahweh Shai, while King David, while 144,000, you know, and the rest of the elect. It says, and thou shalt know that I am Yahweh, and that I have heard all thy blasphemies, which thou hast spoken against the mountains of Israel, saying, they are laid desolate, they are laid desolate, they are given us to consume. All right, so you know the Lord's ready to destroy you, motherfuckers, man. That's why I'm entitled it Perpetual Desolation for Evil E, man, for the controversy of Israel and basically the rest of the planet, man. You shuffling people all around, causing the circuitry of or circuit the normal circuit of the earth, man, just causing it to all be discombobulated, as we used to say back in the day, man. So I pray this lesson was edifying, man. There is no doubt that the Lord is about to leave this man desolate, man, out here, man. So hold fast to this truth. Okay, hold fast to the spirit, man. Keep praying, keep watching, man, and Lord's will, we are part of that number, man, that's gonna be saved in this first go around, man. And I want to end up by giving all honors and praises to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Rakakwadash. Double honors again to the apostles of Great Millstone who teach and rule well. Salutations to you brothers out there in the highways and byways. Salutations to you brothers and sisters all around the world, man, listening and learning. Okay, the rest of the hopeful elect. To you all, I say Shalom, Ababa Bor, and Kwam, Yasharallah.